Hello and welcome to the news in brief. Coming up, 2 jailed 10 years for roles in Konkomba Chokosi conflict. Electoral Commission chairperson says nobody can impose IPAC decisions on the EC. And VGMA bans Shatta, Wale and Stonebwoy indefinitely. 2 people were today sentenced to a total of 10 years in prison with hard labor for their roles in the current Konkomba Chokosi conflict. The Tamale High Court sentenced them to 5 years each in prison when they appeared before it for possessing firearms and ammunition without lawful authority. The convicts, Lak Nanyom and Nablek Jakpati, were charged with 10 counts of possession of firearms and ammunition without lawful authority. They pleaded guilty to the charges, and the court, presided over by Mr. Justice Richard Kojapwa, sentenced them based on their own plea. The chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Mrs. Jane Adukwe Mensah, says while the commission will continue to seek consensus building in carrying out its mandate, it will resist any attempt to impose anybody or individual on it. Responding specifically to whether the role of the Inter-Party Advisory Committee interferes with the workings of the commission, Mrs. Mensah said while it does not see IPAC as an interference, it must remain an advisory body and not one to impose its will on the commission. Mrs. Mensah said this in an interview with Graphic Online when she led officials of the commission to visit the head office of Graphic Communications Group Limited on Wednesday.
So we do not find IPAC to be interfering, but we find that there are certain elements in the society who are trying to impose IPAC on the commission. The commission takes its roots and its mandate from the Constitution, and nowhere in the law does it say that the EC should be bound by the advice of any other body. Indeed, it says that the EC cannot be bound by the advice of anybody. Yes, it's great to build consensus, but if you cannot build consensus amongst everybody, it doesn't affect the work of the EC. The EC is an independent body. It doesn't derive its powers from any individual. It derives its powers from the Constitution. And I think it's important that we state it, and therefore people can cast, insinuations and put out falsehoods to try to, impose their will or on the commission. It won't work.
The board of the Vodafone Ghana Music Awards has banned Shatta, Wale and Stonebwoy indefinitely. In addition to the ban, the 2 musicians have been stripped of all the awards they won in last Saturday's VGMA. The Song of the Year and the Artist of the Year for the last event have also been nullified. In an earlier Facebook post, Shatta Wale announced that he will no longer participate in the annual Ghana Music Awards Festival, saying the decision was taken after reflection. The Normalization Committee of the Ghana Football Association is raising against time to beat a FIFA deadline for the submission of a new statutes before the 69th FIFA Congress in Paris on June 5th. The committee is scheduled to meet FIFA on the sidelines of the Congress on June 4th to finalize discussions on the new GFA statutes for approval. A source today told Graphic Online that the Normalization Committee is almost through with the final draft, which will be the subject for discussion at the Paris meeting. The Commercial Division of the Accra High Court has directed 5 persons accused of causing financial loss of 4 million cedis to the state to open their defense, following the establishment of a prima facie case against them. The 5 accused persons are Eugene Bafuboni, a former board chair of the NCA, Mr. William Tetetevi, a former Director General of the National Communications Authority, Nana Owusu Enso, a former board member, Alhaji Salifu Mimina Osman, a former Deputy National Security Coordinator, and a businessman, Mr. George Derrick Opon. Nana Enso, on his part, has however been discharged on 4 counts, namely conspiracy, willfully causing financial loss to the state, using public office for profit, and intentionally misapplying public property. And finally, embattled Black Stars coach James Kwesi Appiah and striker Asamoah Gyan are set to smoke the peace pipe after a 4-day crossfire turned the two pals into sworn enemies. According to an inside source, Jan, who retired from the Black Stars and made a sudden U-turn within 72 hours, is now remorseful and ready to patch up with the soft-spoken coach. A source told Graphic Online that Jan tried to reach Coach Appiah via telephone but was not successful. He is said to have followed that up with a text message which indicated his desire to meet him on arrival in Ghana on Monday. For more news, visit graphic.com.gh and follow us on Facebook at Daily Graphic Ghana. Thanks for watching.